So today, I'm going to learn how to use a lathe, or I'm going to fail. Who knows? Stick around, see how this turns out. Okay, so this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've never had a lathe before. Had a family member retire from woodworking and offered me his lathe, and I said, heck yeah. So he only used it a few times. It's one of these 8x12 mini lathes from Harbor Freight, one of these central machinery jobs. Gave me a set of Pittsburgh turning tools, which I attempted to put a little bit of an edge on the roughing gouges last night, just because I know those factory edges on these tools are not great. I had no idea what I was going to do with a mini lathe. And then I found some kits online at Woodcraft, bottle openers, ice cream scoops, pen kits. I ordered some coffee scoops from Woodcraft. They're made by Wood River. I can put a link in the description if you like. And I'm going to give that a shot. But before I start carving for real, I made up a piece of cherry last night that I had laying around, scrap, and I'm going to try turning on this first just to see how this goes. When I go to turn the actual coffee scoops, I picked up some zebra wood blanks at Woodcraft while I was there, and I don't want to wreck these. I've never worked with this before. I know it's pretty hard, but I figured I had some scrap cherry laying around. Let's practice with that, see how that goes. I'm still waiting on the coffee scoops to show up in the mail. It should be here in a few days, so we'll see how that goes. But there's a lot of different kits you can do here. I like the whole bottle opener idea. I think that's kind of neat. You can do these with a bunch of different type of wood and finishes and stuff like that. The coffee scoops would be great for my family because we all drink lots of coffee all the time. So coffee. We're going to give this a shot, see how this goes. Like I've said, I've never done this before. I have watched several YouTube videos. I got the basics in my head, but I've never done it. So we're going to learn this, and you're going to see how I do it, or you're going to see how I completely fail miserably and break a bunch of stuff. So we'll see how this goes. So let's get into this. Okay, so got a piece of cherry on here, it's centered, everything's tightened down. I've got my speed set to low. This has a speed dial on it. I don't have to change belts or anything like that, which is nice. So, and it also has a slow start, which is kind of nice. See how this goes. So that's at its lowest speed. So I'm going to just speed this up a little bit. And I do have this fastened to the table here. So I'm going to just very slowly bring my tool up to the wood piece. So yeah, when I first got into this, I really wasn't sure what I was going to expect when I, first touched that chisel to the wood. Was it going to catch? Is it just going to go smooth? I wasn't really sure. So, yeah, I was a little bit nervous about that, and I was always, expecting the worst. I was expecting the chisel to fly out of my hands, or the wood to fly out of the lathe, or something like that. I've seen videos of, the blocks of wood flying up and hitting people in the face, so I was always a little bit nervous about that at first, but I was sure to take a lot of precautions and everything like that, make sure everything was tight, make sure I had my face mask on, all that good stuff like that. So this really wasn't that scary once I got into this. So this is really just a matter of trying to figure out how much pressure to put on the chisel, how far to push onto, how hard to push onto the wood. How much wood to take off all at once, that kind of thing. I really wasn't sure. So here I'm really just practicing with this gouge, trying to see, how much wood it's coming off, how long it's going to take to go from square to a cylinder. I really don't know. No expectations here. I'm just kind of playing around with it, having fun. Kind of adjusted my tool piece here, my tool rest. I'm going to try to, see if I can't put a taper on this thing just a little bit. Just practicing different techniques, using a couple different gouges. I got, I think three different size gouges came with this set. And so I'm just kind of playing with those. I think overall the set came with like 3 gouges, 2 skew chisels, and 2 different types of parting tools or something like that. So just kind of playing around with different things. Here I'm using a parting tool to kind of put some different segments in here. I also had some issues with the tailstock loosening up on me a little bit, and you'll see that throughout the video, but I'll explain that here in just a minute. Hey, so the other day I was learning how to turn on a lathe, and I had a lot of fun. Turned on it for a couple hours and didn't have any problems. I made a small little handle just to test something out, and I went ahead and threw my second piece that I made up in there. And I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, so I started making a little mini lightsaber. I might deck this thing out a little bit just to have some fun with it. I have no idea. I did get my coffee scoops in today, so this is what we're going to be working on. These are from Wood River. I ordered these from Woodcraft. They're like $4 or something like that. Basically, just epoxy them into your wood or whatever. So I've got my piece of zebra wood here ready to go. I think I should, while this is square, go ahead and drill the hole for the coffee scoop. So let's get at it. So right away I noticed a big difference in the zebra wood than the cherry wood. It was just a lot harder. Wasn't getting a whole lot of wood off of this thing. It felt like it was just beating around the chisel a little bit more. So I just applied a little bit more pressure, and I felt like the chisels were just dull. I stopped and sharpened them again right before getting into this piece, and they felt good. It seemed like I had a pretty good edge on them, but they just dulled so fast. I just think they're just not great chisels, so I was kind of struggling with that a little bit. Here you can see I took the wood out of the lathe, and I had to adjust the tail piece a little bit. The tailstock itself was moving as I was tightening it, so when I'm turning this wood, it actually catches on the chisel, and the headstock spindle is actually spinning against the wood. So that was kind of a problem. So that's one complaint I've got about this lathe. I'm going to have to kind of see if I can't figure out how to tighten that down a little bit. So what I've done here is I started tapering that end a little bit. I'm kind of marking how long I want the piece to be, so I used a parting tool to kind of mark that end. And then I'm using several different gouges here. I'm using a skew chisel to kind of just work those ends a little bit and taper that down, and a couple different size gouges and stuff like that. So just kind of playing around with this a little bit, kind of going for a shape. I got an idea in my head kind of what I want, but nothing set in stone. I don't have a template or a pattern I'm trying to follow a little bit, just something in my head. So I'm just trying to see what I can come up with here. So I'm just trying to sand this just a little bit, get an idea what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, and stuff like that. Just trying to assess the tear out that I'm getting as these chisels. All right, so I'm about done turning this other handle. I'm going to go in and add some more details to it. I might shorten the handle a little bit. Having some trouble with the tools. I've sharpened them earlier in the day, and they're dull again. They're smoking and everything like that. I'm just having a really hard time with these tools. I'm definitely going to be upgrading as soon as I get done with this project to a better chisel set. But I'm also having some trouble with the lathe. The tailstock is moving a little bit, so it's loosening up as I'm turning it. So I'm having to stop and tighten everything down quite a bit. Otherwise, I'm real happy with how it's turning out. So, and this has been a fun project. So I'm just going to keep turning on this, get it done, and then we'll go ahead and move over to getting the actual scoop epoxied into this, and we should be good to go. So I'm just adding some additional detail with a rounding gouge, just trying to put some figure in here, and I'm working on the tail piece a little bit, trying to round over that end a little bit with a couple different type of chisels, and just seeing what that gets me here. Yeah, I put an edge on this earlier in the day, and it is already gone. These tools do not hold an edge. Yeah, I was really shocked at how dull these tools got so fast. So, but I've got this kind of the shape that I was looking for. I've got some just basic details. This isn't anything fancy. This is the first time trying this, and again, a lot of this is just trial. just to see what I could do. Here I'm using a parting tool to try to get that end dialed in a little bit more and get ready to cut it off. So okay, so here's your finished piece. Already had the hole drilled, and then all I got to do is kind of hit this end with some sandpaper, but not too bad. I think this is a good size handle, nothing too major. Pared it down pretty good. Still got some tear out on here. I could probably sand it a little bit more. I may hit that by hand. I think this is good. What do you guys think? Okay, so I'm just gonna hand sand this. Like I said, I got some tear out here from those chisels, even though I tried to finely tune it a little bit. That didn't get all the way down. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hand sand this for a little bit, try to smooth some of that out. And then I'm gonna sand this end as well to get that smoothed out from where I cut it off the tail piece there. Should be good to go ahead and epoxy the scoop in here. So I'm going to use a 2-part epoxy from Gorilla Glue. I've used this before. It's good stuff. Then I'll finish it with probably some wood honey. Alright, just hitting this with some sandpaper by hand just to kind of get some of that tear out cleaned out, get the end cleaned up, and all that good stuff. And it turned out really good. Got it nice and smooth. And I did end up applying some Total Boat wood honey to it for the finish, and I was real happy with that. That really looked good with the zebra wood and a good solid finish, so I'm happy with that. As far as getting into wood turning, I definitely recommend it. It was a lot of fun. If you can find a lathe that's used for cheap or that you can afford, or whatever the case is, give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. Definitely going to upgrade these chisels to make this a lot easier. I'm going to be making some bottle openers here soon in a similar fashion. So it was a fun process. I'm looking forward to do it again, and I'll show you here in just a second what the end result of this process was. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and help support these small YouTube channels. It really makes a big difference.